This video is part 3 of a video series on the book King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, rediscovering the archetypes of the mature masculine. In this video I cover the hero archetype and its bipolar shadow representatives in boy psychology, and how it is the immature, weaker archetype of the mature warrior archetype represented in the book. There is much confusion about the archetype of the hero. The hero is in fact only an advanced form of boy psychology. The more advanced form, the peak actually, of the masculine energy of the boy. The archetype that characterizes the best in the adolescent stages of development. Yet it is immature, and when it is carried out into adulthood as the governing archetype, it blocks men from full maturity. If we think about the hero as the bully, this negative aspect becomes clearer. What the hero does is mobilize the boy's delicate ego structures to enable him to break with the mother at the end of boyhood and face the difficult tasks that life is beginning to assign him. The hero energies call upon the boy's masculine reserves, which will be refined as he matures, in order to establish his independence and his competence, for him to be able to experience his own budding abilities, test himself against the difficult, even hostile forces in the world. The hero enables the boy to begin to assert himself and define himself as distinct from all others, so that ultimately, as a distinct being, he can relate to them fully and creatively. The hero throws the boy up against the limits, against the seemingly intractable. It encourages him to dream the impossible dream that might just be possible after all. If he has enough courage, it empowers him to fight the unbeatable foe that, if he is not possessed by the hero, he might just be able to defeat. The death of the hero is the death of boyhood or boy psychology, and it is the birth of manhood and man psychology. The death of the hero in the life of a boy or of a man really means that he has finally encountered his limitations. He has met the enemy, and the enemy is himself. He has met his own dark side, his very unheroic side. He has fought the dragon and been burnt by it. He has fought the revolution and drunk the dregs of his own inhumanity. He has overcome the mother and then realised his incapacity to love the princess. The death of the hero signals a boy or man's encounter with true humility. True humility consists of knowing our limitations and getting the help we need. If we are possessed by the hero, we will fall under the negative aspect of this energy and live out the inflated feelings and actions of the grandstander bully. We will walk over others in our insensitivity and arrogance, and eventually we will self-destruct, ridiculed and cast out by others. If we are in the passive pole of the hero's bipolar shadow, possessed by the coward, we will lack the motivation to achieve anything of significance for human life. But if we access the hero energy appropriately, we will push ourselves up against our limitations. We will adventure to the frontiers of what we can be as boys, and from there, if we can make the transition, we will be prepared for our initiation into manhood. The warrior archetype is the mature representative of the hero. But what is the end of the hero? Almost universally in legend and myth, he dies, is transformed into a god and transcended into heaven. These can be represented by Oedipus's final disappearance in the flash of light, Elijah's ascend into the sky into a fiery chariot, and of course St. George slaying the dragon. What also makes the hero archetype weak or immature or inferior when compared to the warrior is down to loyalty. The warrior's sense of duty are to something beyond and other than himself and his own concerns. The hero's loyalty, as we have seen, is really to himself, to impress himself with himself and to impress others. This is why St. George only slays the dragon for people to convert to Christianity, therefore to only meet his own needs and goals. The warrior, on the other hand, lives a life exactly the opposite of most human lives. He lives not to gratify his personal needs and wishes, or his physical appetites, but to hone himself into an efficient spiritual machine, trained to bear the unbearable in the service of the transpersonal goal. This devotion to the transpersonal ideal or goal, even to the point of personal annihilation, leads to a man to another of the warrior's characteristics. He is emotionally distant as long as he is in the warrior. This does not mean that the man accessing the warrior in his fullness is cruel. It is just that he does not make his decisions and implement them out of his emotional relatedness to anyone or anything except his ideal. He is unable or inaccessible, completely dedicated to transpersonal vocation. The bipolar shadow of the hero is that of the coward and the grandstander bully. The boy or man under the power of the bully intends to impress others. His strategies are designed to proclaim his superiority and his right to dominate those around him. He claims center stage at his birthright. If ever his claims to special status are challenged, he will assault those who question what they smell as his inflation with vicious, verbal and often physical abuse. These attacks against others are aimed at staving off recognition of his underlying cowardice and his deep insecurity. This boy is not a team player, he is a loner. He is a hotshot junior executive, salesman, revolutionary, stock market manipulator. He's a soldier who takes unnecessary risks to combat and, if he's in a position of leadership, requires the same of his men. The man who is possessed by the grandstander bully pole of the hero's shadow has an inflated sense of his own importance and his own abilities. The hero's downfall is that he doesn't know and is unable to acknowledge his own limitations. A boy or man under the power of this shadow hero cannot really realize that he is a mortal being. Denial of death, the ultimate limitation on human life, is a speciality. When we do not face our true limitations, we are inflated, and sooner or later our inflation would be called to account. The last shadow of the hero is the boy possessed by the coward. The other pole of the hero's bipolar shadow shows an extreme reluctance to stand up for himself in physical confrontations. He will usually run away from the fight, perhaps excusing himself by claiming that it is more manly to walk away, but he will feel wretched in spite of his excuses. It is not only physical fights he will avoid, however he will tend to allow himself to be bullied emotionally and intellectually as well. He will easily give in to pressure from others. He will be inflated and run over, like a doormat. When he has had enough of this, however, the hidden grandiosity of the grandstander bully within him will erupt and launch a violent verbal and/or physical assault upon his enemy, and assault for which the other is totally unprepared. If you like this video, please give it a like, comment and subscribe. I'll be talking about further archetypes of the mature and immature masculine from this book.